Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Halton Hills housing update. So inventory is still slightly trending downward this week, not as dramatic as last week. So let's take a look at the numbers. In Georgetown last week, we had 12 sales. I feel like a broken record here. It's like 11 sales, 12 sales, like the same amount of sales every week. So we had 12 sales, which is good news. Our market is still moving. Buyers are still active. It's not crazy, but they're there. We did have 13 new listings. So unlike last week, our new listings were higher than our sales. So that's not ideal, but I'll kind of get into properties coming off and stuff a little bit later. But still, we've seen the new listings slow down. There were weeks where we were 20 plus, and now to see only 13, we're definitely seeing the new listings slow down. In Acton, Glen Williams, and Limehouse this week, we all saw no sales, but one new listing in all of those markets. In the rural market, we saw 2 sales and 3 new listings. So good to see some sales happening still in the rural market as well. One thing to note that I thought was interesting when I looked at the numbers, there was 14 sales in all of Halton Hills last week. Of those 14, only 4 of them were under $1 million. So 10 of them were over that $1 million mark, which is a shift from what we're used to. Like, normally the $1 million plus is very quiet. And so that was something I looked at, immediately stood out to me. So going to be watching if that trend continues about the higher price points selling. And definitely our lower price points seem to be a little quieter right now. So interesting trend to watch. I don't know what's going to be happening here. So now looking at properties that terminated and relisted or came off the market. We had 29 properties affected by that last week. Of the 29, 10 of them removed themselves from the market. So we saw 10 properties exit the market without coming back. Like I talked about last week, this is definitely where we can feel our inventory shift. People that are not getting the money they want for their house, they want to enjoy their summer, all of these things, they're going to be taking their homes off the market. And if we see enough of that, it can really help to soften our inventory through the summer. So we're going to be watching that number closely. We are second week here of double digits of that happening. So it's going to be a trend that I'm going to be watching because it totally changed our market going into the new year this year, the same thing happening. So it will be interesting to see if it changes our market going into the fall. Looking at properties that relisted at a lower price, we had 12 properties that terminated their listing and relisted at a lower price. So lots of price adjustments happening. This number does not include all of the price adjustments that happen throughout the week. So that number is much higher, but it's people that terminate and then come back on at a lower price. We did have 2 properties raise their price. I mean, one was a failed offer night. The other one, I don't know what's going on, but we had 2 properties that came back on at a higher price and 5 properties that came back on at the same price. So I think just like the market is definitely quieter. We've seen showings slow down. I think people are just trying to get their listings back at the top of realtor.ca to hopefully get some traffic going. So that's sort of what happened this week with those properties. So now looking at our active inventory, we are down slightly this week. So last week we were at 214. We are down to 211 active listings in all of Halton Hills. That is still an insanely high number. We need that to pretty much cut in half before we really start to feel like a really hot market again. So let's hope that through the summer we can work towards that. In Georgetown this week, we went down from 128 to 126. So not dramatic. Again, some of those, I know our listings were higher than our sales, but we had properties come off the market. Looking at our price points, under 800,000 is actually up from 9 to 10. We have quite a few condo apartments and even condo townhouses that hit the market this week. So under 800, the market's still moving there, especially the condo townhouses, but to see it go up, I mean, it's just a sign of the times. So 800 to $1 million was at 31 last week. We are down to 29, still sitting very high for that pocket. I have a couple of listings in that pocket and it seems like showings have really slowed down. So that's why the sales over $1 million really interested me this week. Usually we see it weighted under that million mark, the properties are moving, and over a million, we just see a couple of sales trickle through. And it was the opposite this week. And I can say that like showings seem to have slowed. So it's going to be interesting to watch that pocket and what happens there. $1 to $1.5 million remain the same this week at 55 active listings, and 1.5 million plus went down from 33 down to 32 active listings. Really going to be watching this price point the next couple of weeks to see if like there's this new trend of people that like all of a sudden have bigger budgets. That would be interesting. Okay, looking at Acton this week, we are up from 30 to 32. Acton's inventory like is so high, and I mean we are months and months of Acton's inventory just getting hammered. Like it is really high. We are seeing prices coming down in Acton. There's less movement for sure, but 32 active listings, like just cannot catch a break as a seller in Acton. Glen Williams is down from 7 to 6 active listings. It's not a lot of properties available in the Glen. Limehouse remained the same this week at 5 active listings, and the rural market is down from 44 to 41 active listings. Again, rural is where we see a lot of the terminations happening. That market is always slower than in town. So we do see a lot of properties come off the market after, you know, a couple of failed months on the market, and the rural properties seem to sort of trickle off. But either way, rural is still sitting very high too. Everything is just sitting high still. I mean, that is the general consensus. After last week, we did see a pretty dramatic drop and quite a few properties come off the market. I thought maybe that will be the trend. It's still sort of trending that way. Like there's still evidence that that may be our new trend. Not as dramatic this week. So we're going to be watching closely. There's a couple things that came out this week, especially those sales over $1 million, that we're going to be watching here. So I will be back next Tuesday to see if like our downward trend continues through the summer. That's what I'm really hoping. I'm really hoping the new listings just cool off and then we can get some relief with inventory dropping. But I'll be back next Tuesday to see what happens. Have a great week, everyone.